Hi, welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika, and here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. Um, Heads up, I wanted to do this video sitting outside because I just felt that energy. So there are going to be cars going by. You might hear some road sounds and, excuse me, even red car radios because I just picked that up as well. But this is a video which I think is probably going to have to be in two parts. Um, where I'm going to be talking about the anatomy of a spell. And I want to really go detailed and deep into this topic because, one, I think that for a lot of people, they struggle with how to do spells. Most of us can follow some directions in the spell book, so it's not about that. It's going beyond that, understanding how to create a spell from the conception of the need or desire to the process of maybe tweaking someone else's spell or creating your own, or add or using someone else's spell. However, using it with your magic, if that makes sense. But just stay with me, I'll get there. Okay, and then of course, once you're done the spell, what do? How do you handle things? How do you assure success of the spell once it's done? So that's what we're going to get into today. So first, this is going to be a lot more talk through. Please don't assume that this doesn't matter. Then I'm not really giving you a lot of one-on-one. I'm giving you the one-on-one, but the one-on-one you might not be getting in other places. So without further ado, I want to say this points to remember, and I have hecka notes, points to remember. You must intend to progress further in your magic and spirituality. I think this is important. It doesn't matter the stage that you're in. It doesn't matter how long you've been practicing, whether it was last Friday that you started or, 10 years ago. You have to have a willingness and desire to progress. You have to take your magic and your spirituality seriously. There's enough people who are constantly questioning or just, disputing or quite frankly, just like disregarding us and like putting us down for practicing a magical lifestyle, practicing a spirituality that is alternative and totally different than the predominant one in most, in this country anyway. So you of all people have to be willing to grow. Grow means learning, taking concepts and discussions and knowledge and so forth, and actually applying as well. It's one thing to store the information, but you want to make sure the information that you're learning will someday be applicable, meaning you'll be able to apply it, meaning you learned all this stuff, what are you going to do with it? So in some capacity, now doing something with it might be recording it in your Book of Shadows or Grimoire, because sometimes the way Spirit leads us is that we gather this information and then later we'll use it. Again, forgive me for the background noise, but hopefully you can hear me just fine. Actively pursue any and all next steps. I'm going to say it again. Actively pursue any and all next steps. It is super important that you follow through, meaning the mundane side of things, the alignment to your spell, the pre-work. Do those next steps, they matter. In my situation, which I'll get to in a moment, it's going to be very important that I follow up with what I'm doing this spell for, because otherwise it's not going to work. It won't make any sense. I don't understand sometimes, and I know for some of us, we're like, duh, of course you have to follow up. If you do a love spell, a work spell, to get a job or, you want money, there's usually something you need to do. I mean, you want money to appear in your checking account, but you don't have a checking account. And I know that sounds ridiculous if this is not you, but believe it or not, there are people who don't think they want, a brand new luxury car and they're living in the projects, not making a connection that that is not the place for a brand new luxury car. And you don't even have a job. How are you going to maintain that car? How are you going to get car insurance? And when you get the car, are you getting it through a means where it's cash? Are you getting it as a lease, or to make monthly payments on? How are you going to be able to afford that? you're putting the cart before the horse. You need to build your lifestyle up so that it has room for that vehicle. You know what I mean? Like, and I know, look, I grew up in the hood. There are people with luxury cars in the hood. I completely understand. But that usually comes with a whole other lifestyle. And trust me, they manifested that lifestyle as well. You are not them. Stop. All right, moving on. So those are points I just want you to kind of keep in mind throughout this whole thing. The first step is deciding what you want. You're going to need to take actual time to think. So I'm walking you through using myself in a spell that I'll be working on. So I am currently at the thinking phase. So this is in real time, and I'm going to walk you guys through this. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about, I have a need. I need to make income. I need to have several streams of income because it's important that I am able to sustain the lifestyle that I want. So that's where I'm at, right? So I need income. Again, several streams. So that is my need, right? And the need is also twofold because it needs to meet above my basic needs. I keep saying more needs, but my bills and all that sort of stuff. I need it to be above that so that I have leftover, so I can have the other enjoyments in life. I could take a class, I could go on a trip, I could buy a plane ticket to visit friends and family. I can go to dinner, buy clothes, buy stuff for my Richard Review, all that sort of stuff. So I need to have that also built in. So that's my basic need. Now what I would suggest is getting a pen and paper, which I have. If I can get my pen, I'll get my pen. And, I got my paper in here. This is a time for you to center yourself. So for me, in this moment, that's why I kind of wanted to be outside. I needed to be connected to nature and all that good stuff. So I need to breathe. This is super important. At this stage, and I know you're watching this, you're probably thinking, what the frick? Like, okay, just get to the spell part. It's the side effects of work sitting outside in a close-knit neighborhood. My neighbor has a muscle car. It's super loud, but I'm going to get back into it. So I just totally lost. He made me lose my place. That's why you got to ground and center and get in the game. So back to what I was saying. This is the time to think, to get your pen and your paper out, because you want to avoid being in a place of panic. Somebody like myself, I'm talking about money, I'm talking about developing income, I'm talking about basically setting myself up, right? In a way that I haven't done recently. I haven't had to think about this sort of stuff, but I want to do that now. So for me to do this, I need to make sure that I'm not in a scarcity mindset, which, I know a lot of us are. And I'm going to be honest with you because I'm using myself. I'm being very open and vulnerable right now with you guys. This is something I have struggled with off and on my adult life. I didn't always know scarcity mindset or poverty mindset, or basically just having this ongoing connection with thinking like a poor person. Even when you have money, even when you have the ability to manifest, and you've proven it time and time again to yourself, to myself, I have proven this. Even with all of that, those freaking fears that just they straddle to me, to just and it's small, and sometimes you gotta be careful about the little small fears because they sneak up on you. You thinking no, I'm good. I mean, yeah, it's in the back of my head, but I'm good. No, it's decaying the positivity, the optimism. It's chipping away at it bit by bit. So I need to face that. I need to deal with that. This is why my spells are effective. Yes, there are times I jump right in, but for big things like big moves, I'm talking about developing streams of income right now in a way that I've never done. I'm reaching way out into the universe to bring this to me. This is huge for me, okay? Um, I have to change my mindset. I have got to accept that it's possible. And I've got to find a trigger to, um, or find the trigger that makes that scarcity mindset, poverty mindset, poor person's thinking come into play. I've got to know the triggers. And trigger, some of us have more than one. I have to know what that is. When I get that feeling in my heart, that anxiety, which I also deal with, and that panic, I have got to be able to address it. So, first and foremost, and this is the kind of stuff I would write down. What am I going to do when I feel that? When I feel basically the potential blocks that I could be imposing on myself in my spell work. So, I like the word rebuke, pulled over from back in the Christian days, but I love that word rebuke. It's an English word, we can use it, I promise you, as a witch. And what I would do, it's like a gang of cars came by. What I will do when this moment happens, when I get that rising, if you guys know about anxiety, kind of, it starts in this, for me, it starts in the gut, and it rises up and it gets to my heart, and my heart starts beating a little faster, and I get nervous, and I can't think clearly in that state. It's anxiety. And then I start what-ifing myself to like infinity. So in that moment, when I feel it rising, or even if it gets beyond just the rising, and I'm at the part where it's like I can't even think straight, for whatever reason, if I allow myself to go there, I will just say out loud, I rebuke this fear, I rebuke scarcity mindset, I rebuke these what-ifs. Like, I will just name it and just say whatever it is, I'll rebuke it. And I will just keep saying that like a chant until I'm only focusing on that word. I rebuke, I rebuke, I rebuke, I rebuke this, I rebuke this, I rebuke this, I rebuke this. I will go until the words are not even discernible if someone even heard me. If I got to sit there and rock back and forth, if I have to sit there and rock back and forth, if I got to let tears out, if I got to do all that, I will do that. And I'm just using an example of somebody who's trying to develop different levels of income, right? But imagine if I was doing this because I was struggling, with my health, or I was wanting to do, invite a person into my life, love magic and things like that. It's imperative that you have these little, the best way to call them is like negativity blockers in motion, because a lot of times it's not the other people, the friends, the co-workers, or anybody else that matter who is being the negative one. It's usually us, the witch, the practitioner. We're usually the ones doing the negative. It's the self-doubt. It's the what-ifing, It's the asking 50,000 questions when you already know this is something you want to do, and you don't have all the how worked out. That's part of the magic. That is the spell. That's the part that's where the magic comes in. Okay. So, now, here's a couple questions that I'll ask myself, and I would suggest maybe you use this depending on the type of work you want to do. Remember, we're breaking down a spell. This seems like it's not necessary, but I promise you, this prep work of getting your mind right is key to everything. Because once your mind is right, really, that's what intention, we talk about intention, but you gotta really believe this is gonna work, and you have to really be all in, especially for big spells, big workings. I'm doing a big working. I've never attempted anything on this scale for myself, for my family, specifically for my significant other. I've done a lot of work where I've benefited, but this one is it's for me. And it's kind of big, and it's exciting. So let me get to it. A couple questions. If you get what you want, and this is what I ask myself, if you get what you wanted, will it have an impact on your life? Will anyone else be affected by your actions? Where does this fit in with your long-term goals? If you didn't get this desire, what would happen? Am I willing to put the work needed in to get it? And last question, is it worth it to go after this want or need? think about that. This is what you're going to think about. I was just writing it down, but if you know you can answer these questions without, just right off the cuff. For time purposes, I'm not going to sit here and write it all out. But if I get what I want, will it have an impact on my life? Yes, it will. And it will have a positive impact. Will anyone else be affected by your actions? Yes. I still have one child who is going to need me to still provide some semblance of financial support as she continues her education. Where does this fit in with your long-term goals? Where does this fit in with my long-term goals? My long-term goals is to maintain and continue to have these income streams for financial stability. Taking care of the basic necessities in life, eventually travel, and then growing my business, Leap Taken brand, and so forth, my writing career, investing in that and growing it even more, and having the funds to do so. So yes, it does fit my long-term goals. If I didn't get this, what would happen? Well, what would happen if I don't get this? I don't want to say make it happen because that's too much pressure. If I don't get this, I will be in a very vulnerable position financially that I don't want to be in. Am I willing to put the work needed in to get it? I am. Now, I know you're probably thinking, of course she is. Why would you be doing all this if you're not? It takes work to maintain multiple streams of income on some level, even passive income. I know we have this idea you don't have to do anything, but you got to do something. And most of these things are going to require my brain power, my creativity, me being focused and aligned with others, myself obviously, and whatever goals or benchmarks that are being set to me maybe by someone else. I have to be willing to be consistent and work with that, and I am to myself I'm saying I am. Last question again, is it worth it to go after this want or need? Yes, it's worth it. It's a necessity. It's mandatory. So it's very much worth it. And the next thing I'm going to ask is, why don't I already have? It's ridiculous, guys. Why don't I already have what I want or need? Why don't I already have this? Honestly, because I was lazy. I was lazy and I had the desire, but I didn't follow through. Procrastination is also a problem for me. Imposter syndrome is also a problem for me at times. Is this a new need or want, or is it ongoing? The urgency of the need is new, but it's always been something I've wanted. Is what I want or need a symptom of a bigger issue that will hinder the success of this working in some way? So let me just explain that question a little bit more. Is what I want or what I need a symptom of a bigger issue? Yes. This is where I'll need to have multiple spells attached to this spell, meaning, as I like to say, I'm giving my hands out, spells on spells on spells on spells, because that's how I see it. Layers of spells, because this is part of a bigger issue. Money is always, the need for money can be very straightforward. You need money to eat, right? But it gets a little more complicated because why do you have a food scarcity issue? Why don't you have enough money? What's going on? And that's usually a more complicated answer to give. I did the right thing. I went to school. I did all that. But, the job market went south and I couldn't find something that paid me well enough. And I had all these bills and, so forth and so on. So it's a complicated answer. So it's not always so straightforward when we start talking about money. At least not for most people. It's really not. So yeah, it's part of a bigger issue. Am I doing anything that is perpetuating this situation? Not the want or need, but the situation. Am I doing anything that's perpetuating it? The best answer I can give is at this time, I am trying not to. I'm trying not to. Does something else need to change before you can have this want or need fulfilled? This is the type of question you really have to be comfortable with being honest with yourself. Is there something else that needs to change first? Remember, I just gave that different example that doesn't have anything to do with me. I don't want a luxury car. But if you did want a luxury vehicle, remember that. And, like, how are you going to do that and you're in the projects? You know, you don't, you work in, at a fast food joint, it's just, it doesn't add up. You got kids, you got other responsibilities. You need to work on other aspects of your life first. You would need to change your location, your type of income you have. There's big changes you would have to make in your life, right? In order to move forward with then, having a luxury vehicle, because the safety, of your car would become an issue. Hey, again, someone who grew up in the hood, aka projects, I grew up there. I know what I'm talking about. As someone who I don't even go down that rabbit hole, but we had cars and things like that. We had a nice car and it was vandalized. And I know a lot of people, it's just like that sometimes, it's a lot of hater mentality. I mean, you're around a lot of people who are struggling and just getting by. It's the whole mindset thing. But anyway, moving on. Yeah, I would need to make a change. If that was me. But in this situation, the only change I need to make to before this is a mindset shift. I have to be willing to put in consistent work. I have to be willing to think like a boss, and to some degree as like a consultant in other aspects, even like an employee. I have to think like that again, and be more goal centered and actually like don't let up. Those are the questions. So if I was writing all this down, which I will be writing my stuff down by the way, but writing all this down, these are questions I have to be honest with myself. I don't have to share this with anyone else. I can get very detailed. I think this is kind of, like I said, important because you're exposing what might come up during the spell work and after the spell that can cause obstacles. You're addressing those possible mind obstacles, emotional obstacles very early on. So this is how you can make sure you have a more successful spell. And I don't like to waste my time doing things half behind. I want to make sure that spell works. I want to believe in it. So there you go. So let's talk about energy. So now that we've done our mini shadow work, let's talk about how we need to understand energy, because that's the next big part of the spell anatomy. Energy. So now we're centered. We know what we want, what we need, what we desire. We understand the ramifications of receiving it or not receiving it. We are understanding that we're whole. Gnats again. we're complete in that aspect. So we're moving on to energy. To me, energy raising, manipulating energy is a skill. It's not a gift. I think that a lot of us get a little confused about energy work, because being a witch to me is manipulating energy. Basically, that's what you're doing most of the time. And it's a skill. So there's a little witch in all of us, aka practical magic. A quote from Practical Magic. So how we feel emotionally is energetic. That's energy. Because we can have physical symptoms from that. Like, the best way, I just kind of want you guys to think about this. Put your physics cap on a little bit. Let's get a little science. You can't see a thought. You can't see my thought. I'm thinking, you don't see it. I don't have steam coming out my ears. Hold hope drug. I don't have steam coming out my ears. There's not a thought bubble that pops out. So you don't know what my thoughts are. You can't see my thoughts. You can see my actions based on my thoughts. And that's about it. Myself included. I know what I'm thinking. I know what I'm feeling. You also, same thing. So with that being said, just accept the fact that we can think things and they can come into reality. Someone thought about how to, excuse me, oh my God, how to design my home. They thought, or teams of people thought about it. They put these thoughts together and they wrote it down on a piece of paper or in a computer program. They put it together and then it became reality. It was actually built. Then the builders had to be able to conceptualize, the blueprints and build from there. So there's a lot of thinking going on. There's a lot of things that we other humans can't see, but the actions show what was thought. So that I'm trying to get a very simplistic way of thinking about energy in the sense of doing spell work. So I get my mind right, I get centered, I'm in tune with my need and my desire. I'm at the point now where it's in my head, the invisible thoughts that no one can see, only I can see it. And now I'm about to make it into reality. And the avenue I'm choosing to do that is going to be using a spell. I'm going to be using candles, herbs, chants, sayings. Well, we'll get to that part. Those little pieces. But I'm going to be directing my energy into objects, coding. I'm going to raise energy, direct it, and then send it also into the universe, into the ethers, so that it comes back to me. You have the power to change your reality and the world around you, and your primary tool is energy. Spells, and I got this from a book that I love, spells are an exercise of free will. Think like that. This is the part where we start to now, let's really wrap our minds around this energy component. It's super important. So now that I have this, so now I'm at the point where I want to go ahead and start gathering the spells, the right wording for my spells and all that. I've got my magical mindset. I'm confident in my ability to manipulate and direct energy through consciousness, my will, and intent. I'm gonna do this starting with meditation, visualization. I'm gonna do some dancing and some chanting. This is an energetic way. This is the action, part of the action behind the things that I'm thinking and feeling. Excuse me. I'm going to establish a action word or trigger word to put myself in a magical mindset as well. That's also key. This is something that I'm going to be doing over time, over days, so it's not like a one and done spell. So I have the luxury of, really thinking all this out. But if I was trying to do it all at once, I would just be sitting here thinking all this stuff, and then I would actually set up the spell and do it that day. Raising energy to get into that is the calling together of, or gathering of forces we work within magic, the magical power that lies within and throughout everything. Oh my God, these ants are attacking me. They hear me talk about energy. They try and get mine. Energy can be gathered from both internal and external sources, from our inner power as well as from the natural world and from deities, spirit, and so forth. Hopefully you kind of got all that about raising energy. Raising energy can be an internal process. That meditation I was talking about and that visualization, that is raising energy. I want you to think about what visualization can do for you if you're someone who's in tune with that. For me, visualization can turn into actually tapping into having a physical response to what I'm visualizing. I can emote. I can actually feel happy. I can feel excitement. My pulse will quicken. It's a physical reaction. It's action. So I can internalize or internally create the energy as well. Don't underestimate that, by the way. The chanting, it's using air, sound, so forth, vibration. Me chanting, that's why it's raising this vibration. I'm tapping into a lot of type of elements with that. So I'm raising it because the more I focus on just the words, I'm not thinking of anything else. I'm giving power to those words, that chant, and it is raising energy. It's, if I was to check my pulse, you would see that it rose. The chant in this case is to raise energy. I wouldn't be doing it to calm down, to ground myself. I want, you know, it to go up, up, up. My pulse will quicken with that. Dancing for sure. For dancing, if you're dancing to music, assuming you're not just dancing, I mean, maybe you have a sound in your mind, but which is great too. But if you're dancing to music, in my case, it's going to be very important the type of music that I pick. I'm going to want something that is tapping into, that girl boss energy. Nicki for sure, Nicki Minaj. I'm going to want to hear some of that. I'm going to want to hear just outlandish, outrageous type of music like that to dance to. I want to kind of get lost in that. And anything else, it doesn't have to be, her, but she definitely exudes that energy over the top. It's not so much that I'm like, oh, I want over the top. I want to be over the top. I want to be like her. No, it's so outlandish, the things that she says. It's good enough to tap into. I won't have to catch everything. I don't like every lyric. That's not important. It's just the vibration. She's talking about money. She's all female. She's doing, blah, blah, blah. So I would want to tap into that. So that's going to be important. And then the dance itself. The dance is obviously energetic. I'm raising energy. That's going to be important. It's super important. So now that I've raised the energy, what do you do with it? This is definitely important with the visualization and the dance. Where am I putting that energy? Well, I'm going to put that energy, I'm going to code it into something. And that's where part 2 is going to come in. And I'm going to show you how I do that. But in short, let's say I have a candle. I would put that energy into it. Chanting is great for this. So chanting, I say I'm holding that candle and I'm putting all the energy into that candle. Whether it's herbs, which I believe vibrate in their own frequency, and they're organic matter, so they have their own energy and their own frequency. That's why you want to be careful with picking the right herbs. There are so many freaking flies and gnats out there, so you want to be able to have that. Make sure you have the right herbs for your purpose. Obviously, for me, I'm going to be looking for things to do with abundance, prosperity, money. Success. I want to tap into solar energy, so my spell's going to be very multifaceted. You'll see momentarily. That's part 2. But I will be holding things, holding objects. If there's a charm at the end of it or something I'm enchanting, I'm going to energy code that. So all that energy that I just built and raised, that's what it's going into. Okay? I'm trying to make sure I get to the next thing. So, yeah. The other thing I wanted to say, because I got so many notes down on here. The other thing I wanted to say is during this time, doubt can creep in. I know in the past I've had to deal with that at this stage. You do all this stuff, you focus on chant, you focus on dance, you focus on visualization, you release the energy, and you start to feel, that what if feeling might creep up again. That's when I'll be using that rebuke or whatever my trigger statement is to blast those feelings of doubt and all that sort of stuff. So now that I know what I'm going to do, I know how I want to do it, I'm going to be writing the spell and performing the spell. So that'll be part 2. I'll post part 2 on Wednesday, so we get to see that side of it. But again, all the stuff that I just talked about, it's super important. You've got to get the magical mindset. Again, I just want to reiterate, people talk about intentions and, making sure, your intentions are clear. How do you do that? Everything I just talked about is how you do that. Literally everything I talked about. This is how you get your intentions clear. This is how you are in the magical mindset to do these workings and spells. When you look at people who are, serious practitioners, especially those who are seasoned, age-wise, or just who've been doing this for some time, the one thing, and I like to say, look at elders who practice. The one thing you see about them is they don't play. When they tell you they got to get their mind right, don't work their nerves. They say words like that, or they need a minute or something, whatever the thing is. They kind of go off. Like old school type practitioners, like they might separate themselves from everybody for a bit when they can reduce some type of work, and whatever the bit is. That not everybody has the luxury of taking like days, but it might be just for during that day some time to get their mind right. This is the time also, once you do all this, do a tarot reading, ask your ancestors, ask spirit, work with the deity. You're not doing a spell petition yet. You're at that in still the magical mindset phase. You're just reaching out. Are we good? Is this good what I'm doing? You're like, how you feel about it. So now you're reaching outward, just for confirmation that you're on the right path for what you're doing, and then being willing to accept if you're not. Think on it. If it's possible to stagger this out and not do it all in one day, that's great. Because you might have a dream, like something can come to you in a dream, something you weren't even thinking about. That's the thing I love about being a witch and practicing magic, is because sometimes you get messages and things like that and symbols that's like, oh wait, you about to do this whole spell, do all this, and which you didn't won the lottery, or something you already had in the file, working in the background on the back burner that you've just been, okay, yeah, that's working too, but I need to focus on this. That might come through, and you don't even have to do everything you were about to get into because it's not even necessary. So for me, at this point where I'm at now, full transparency, I'll answer those questions. I'll write all that down, and then my answers to those questions that I talked about before, I'll write that down because I want to have magical record keeping. Also, it's good for me to go back in case, again, those negative obstacle and fearful thoughts pop in, those what if and doubtful things happen to me. I can go back and recenter myself. So I'll be very detailed in my answers to those questions for myself. Then I will be doing a reading. At most times when I do spell work, I like to do a reading for myself. But the bigger the spell, the more I'm going to do a reading. I might even do more than one, to be honest with you. In this prep time, like right now, it's important. And then, right before I like to do it, make sure, we all still good. Me and the spirit world, we still good. But I'm just going to wrap up with just the steps or how I break down the spell. And I use the Witch's Bag of Tricks, which has been my Witch's Bible over the years now on understanding this. So first, magical goal. I talked about that in the beginning, multiple streams of income. And it's a little bit more layered, but I'll just say that. That's the magical goal. The magical mindset. How will you achieve it? I answered all those questions because I'm doing a preliminary work to not have any negative blockages, that could set me back. Energy raising. I have a plan in place to raise energy. So from where will you gather power? I just talked about dancing, chanting, meditating, visualization. Energy coding. How will you code the energy with your intent? My way is to just hold it. So after I, chant or something like that, or while chanting, I'll just hold it and I'll visualize light energy moving from my body into this object. So I will be doing that. And then energy release. How will you cast the spell and where will it go? Well, that's the more if I show you more so than I talk about right now. And that's going to be in part two. So that's the anatomy of the spell. And one other thing I want to just bring up, but it's super important also. This is a perpetual spell for me. It's ongoing. This is a the perpetual spells are best for long-term goals. So I already have done some road opening work. I had a road opening candle, and I've already sort of cleared that up ahead of time using the new moon. So I've cleared that path for myself. So everything else I'm going to do, I feel like will be smooth and aligned with that as well. So this has been a perpetual spell technically because I've already did some work, and now I'm doing some more where I'm getting a little bit more specific with my magical goal. I knew it was a big truck. But yeah, that is the breakdown of the first portion, almost more than half of the spell work. It's all up here. It's all in here and in your gut. Those things need to be in sync. You know, you need to be prepared for that. This is a time, if you want to do any fasting, you can do that. I will not be doing that. Maybe you want to be more conscious about the food you eat right now. At the stage I'm at, this is something, you know, I'm aware of myself. You know, because we're in this prep, we're getting our mind right, you know. Think about that. You know, if you do drink alcohol, maybe you don't want to, make sure you don't overindulge. Basically, you want to just keep your vibrations in a place where you're able to stay on keep your magical mindset. You don't want to interrupt that. You want to keep, I don't want to say your vibrations high, but maybe neutral. Maybe you want to, you know, I mean, it's cool if it's high, but you know, you can get excited about everything. But at the same time, you know, it's more about being more determined. It's more about being a little bit more serious, joyful. Yes, you know, there's joy in all of this, but being a little bit more serious and passionate about it. You know, passion doesn't. For me, passion looks like, you know, I'm serious about it. You know, I'm writing things down. I'm thinking about it. I'm allowing my intuition to guide me. I'm very tapped in. If I see a symbol, you know, I know what that is. If I hear a voice or, you know, a thought form sort of pops in my head, I'm acknowledging it. This is not the time for you to kind of blank out and not pay attention, you know, to things that spirit might be showing you, your higher self might be reminding you about. So this is that opportunity for you to do that. That's why I think of reading is so important as well, because there might be things you need to know or things you need to add in or things you need to maybe avoid. I mean, complexities with energy work and stuff like that, it's vast. There's so much to it. But at the same time, you're not afraid of it. It doesn't deter you from moving forward with it. It's just you need to be aware. You need to acknowledge and be aware. If you work with house spirits, fairies, and things of that nature, you want to make sure you got that under control. Because, you know, you get serious, you get your mind right, and then, you know, they come and they could possibly come and wreck some stuff or manipulate in a way that you don't want. So you want to make sure you have that relationship good. Make sure your altars are clean, especially if you're going to be petitioning folk, ancestors, specific goddess or whoever. Make sure you done cleaned up the altar, you gave them some simple offering or something like that, because you're doing something big. So you want to make sure you do that. So for me, I'll make sure I do a nice little thorough wipe down. I'll make sure I'll take that time in my meditative state to connect with my ancestors and just be patient. Sometimes they don't reveal themselves right away, but it's on me to be patient, because I'm going to be asking them to look out for me and to watch out for me and make sure that, you know, I'm to clear obstacles and so forth. You know, I need to make sure that we're good. So all this prep work, like I said, it's super important. So I'll leave it here, and then I will we'll get down to the nitty gritty in part 2 of this. So let me know in the comments if you have any questions on what I've gotten to at this point. Do you guys do this level of detail specifically for bigger spells? You know, I'm talking about the big gun stuff. You know, you trying to manifest the whole baby. You know, a house, or you trying to heal yourself. You know, you got something terminal. I'm trying to say like something that could kill you, disease, but I'm struggling with the words today. But anyway, yeah, you know, the big guns, the big things. So yeah, if you have other techniques and things that you do, let me know in the comments. I really would like to know. I'm very curious, and I'm sure other people who see that as well would appreciate, others' perspective on what they do as well at this stage of the game. All right, so thanks again for watching. I am Mika. This is Leap Taken. Please like, subscribe, share, and thanks again for watching as always. And I will be back with part 2 Wednesday.